Welcome back to Man in Your Corner with me, Sean Tucker, health scientist and breathing performance trainer. We are here in the living lab documenting the science, the struggle, and the shift for every man who's ready to recover just as hard as he trains so he can finally unleash his best performance. You're fitter at 42 than you were at 32. So why did your back go when you picked up a sock? Before we get into that, please go ahead and give us a rating on your podcast platform that you're listening or watching on now. It helps get the message in front of the person who needs to hear it. Thanks so much. So you've never been fitter. This is the fittest you've been in your life. So why did your back go all of a sudden when you went to pick up a sock? It sounds ridiculous. I've seen it happen firsthand. I've seen it even happen to me. I've experienced this. It wasn't me picking up a sock. It was me bending down. If you're anything like me, you might have injuries. You might have old injuries in your body. I have an L4 and L5 herniation on both sides, and it's caused me a lot of grief for a very long time. I am working on it. I've been working with allied health professionals a bit. I'm actually on my way to a solution, I can confidently say. But this episode is not about me and talking about my injuries and how to overcome the injuries. No, it's actually understanding what's happening for you if this is you. Because it doesn't matter if you're 42, if you're 32, or whatever. If you are fitter than you've ever been, and for whatever reason, you go to pick up a sock or you just do something that's stupid, right? Something like moving a chair, and all of a sudden your back or your shoulder or your chest or something goes. There is a reason for it. There is a really, really good reason for it. I'm not here to point out exactly what that reason is, but understand how everything is connected. There is a pattern that's playing out where we're talking about it's allostatic load, effectively. It's what you're taking on board when basically your whole life is being carried right now in your body. We're talking all the stresses, we're talking all of the triumphs, all of the achievements, everything, right? All the good things and the bad things, and the things that make it hard to get out of bed some days. Because the things that make it hard to get out of bed some days, whether that's mentally, emotionally, physically, that tiredness, that lingering tiredness, that responsibility of being able to provide or having to provide for your family or yourself, the fact that you have to show up, the obligation to show up. These things, they make such a big impact on your overall system. And if you care about fitness, if you care about your ability to train and feel good and really show up as your best, you have to understand that recovery should be even more important than your training. Learning how to breathe well, learning how to recover, learning how to relax, not just go ahead and do more ice baths and more saunas and really push yourself in that extreme. If you're doing that, it is great. I'm not saying don't do it. What I'm saying is you're probably leaving some really basic foundational steps on the table that would help recover your system a lot more quickly than pushing it and forcing it into discipline. Been there, done that. I had an experience in an ice bath in Singapore with my brother-in-law. I decided that I was going to be tougher than him. He does ice baths on a regular basis, multiple times a week. Very high level achieving athlete. It's a canoe polo. That's his sport of choice. Plays at national level. And look, he does this on a regular basis, right? But I'm also one of his coaches. And so I was like, I'm going to beat him. I got to push myself further than he can, in this ice bath, in the 3-degree ice bath. think it was at 2.7 degrees Celsius, that is. And I went in, he got out at 3 minutes. I decided, no, I'm going to stay in for 5. And so I did. I stayed in for 5 minutes, and then everything went numb in my body, right? My feet, my hands. I got out, and then I had this wave of adrenaline just like come into my body, like insane levels of adrenaline. And I could not make out what people were saying. I could just feel my heart pounding like crazy, trying to keep me alive. Right? It was stupid. Like I openly admit it was dumb. But at the same time, I felt that so damn alive. Like I wouldn't replace it with anything. I don't regret it. Stupid, yes, but I wouldn't regret it. And I don't regret it. Because yes, there's this idea of needing to preserve your body, right? And pushing it and seeing what you're really made of and what you're capable of. But if you haven't got the foundations in place, see, I used to do a lot of this training. I used to do a lot more breathing training. I used to do all of these things. And then when life got harder, when I had my first daughter, when responsibilities went up, I stopped being so disciplined about the foundations and working on the foundational aspects. And so I decided that I was still mentally, I'm still as tough, right? Physically, my body's just not quite there. But I was like, no, I can do it. I can do it. That's the stupid part. If you haven't done it for a long time, don't just push your body into that state of doing it. Your body needs to be conditioned. Your body needs to be trained. You need to keep up with your training. You need to keep up with the disciplines. That's the whole point. That is the whole point. And I'm not saying, look, when you go and put your sock on, your back goes because, you're not really paying attention to the body. You've fallen into this habit of being able to go to the gym and get stronger. But have you been really paying attention to the body? Have you heard the signal in the body? Have you been listening to the signal where it's been saying, hey, buddy, you need to slow down. Hey, dude, if you keep going, I'm going to have to protect you. I'm going to have to stop you in your tracks because you're going to do damage over time. And you really need to learn how to protect yourself. Anyway, just finishing on that story with the ice bath. It took me 35 minutes to an hour to return back to base, to normal. I was intensely shivering. Right, the adrenaline was pumping through my veins. So, not recommended. But it was a learning experience. Meet your body where it's at and train it that way. Train the foundations, build on the foundations. If you haven't trained for a long time in whatever it is, breathing, exercise, running, sprinting, even walking, right? Just one foot after another. If you're a runner and you haven't run for 6 months, don't go back straight out to running 10Ks. Like, build it up. Build up that tolerance. Build up the threshold. If you want to know how you can measure some of these tests so to see how tolerant you are to certain things, message me. If you do have a pattern of, look, I don't know what my body's trying to tell me, message me. Because we'll see if this work is right for you and we can find out what's actually happening beneath the surface. So that brings us to the end of this episode of Man in Your Corner. If you found value, please go ahead and give us a rating on the podcast platform you're listening or watching on now. Thanks so much. Well, remember, most people wait for their life to change. We are the ones making conscious choices to make our lives better for ourselves and for everyone around us. Change your state. Choose how you show up. I am Sean Tucker. See you in the next one.